we begin with the first unit of performance management. The first unit is called as Specialist Cost and Management Accounting Techniques. So when I discussed with you the last class about the subject orientation, right? So I have already informed you the subject is a combination of cost accounting as well as management accounting in depth. Okay, because I'm sure all of you have come across in the previous semesters cost accounting subject and also management accounting subject. Okay, so this will be more in depth, and the basics, if you guys are strong enough in cost accounting and management accounting, this also would be easy for you to understand. So this entire syllabus has 4 units. The first 2 units deals with cost, the second 2 units deals with management accounting. Let's begin. So in this first chapter, we're going to discuss about 5 different accounting techniques or cost accounting techniques. Okay, because as a business, we always focus on reducing the cost and maximizing profit. Yes or no? That's our primary motive as a businessman or as a company. We try maximum to reduce, right? To reduce the cost of production and maximize our returns or income. So here are a few methods or techniques that we will be learning in this particular chapter. Okay, in detail. Uh, Starting with ABC costing, through output costing, environmental accounting, target costing, and life cycle costing. Okay, all the 5 will be discussing in detail, and we'll also be solving problems based on these accounting techniques. So today we'll be starting with the first one called as ABC costing or activity based costing. Okay, now let's first introduce the topic. Now here, as you guys have already studied the cost accounting subject, correct? In your second years, you would have studied this cost accounting, where we used to do the usual way of accounting, that is the traditional method of costing or allocating cost, correct? Now, what is traditional costing? It was the allocation of factory overhead to products. Now, either it can be based on the volume of productions or the number of labor hours consumed. So under this method, overhead is usually applied based on their either amount of direct labor or hour consumed or machine hours used. Now, if you have remember cost accounting, what you've studied priorly, you will understand these terms. Okay, overhead, right? It focuses on the cost of the entire production of a particular company, right? The company might have 3 product lines. So altogether 3 products, what would be the total cost of production for a company X? And then we consider number of labor hours, or if we are machine intensive, we would consider number of machine hours. You remember, all these concepts or words is actually we have studied in the subject cost accounting, where if you can remember the exact cost sheet, we used to have the direct expenses, the indirect expenses, under which we have overheads, factory overhead, distribution overhead, selling and administration overhead. Hope you can recall. So under traditional costing, it was simply categorized into material, labor, and overhead. But today we'll be studying about ABC costing. What exactly is ABC costing? It is an accounting methodology that assigns cost to activities. Remember, here what did we do? We allocated the factory overhead to products. Can you read that line from the first line to the second line? Overhead to the products. What are we doing under ABC? Assigning cost to activities. That's the major difference here under traditional method and ABC. Under traditional, whatever overhead cost, directly we used to put it upon the product. or the amount of products produced. But under ABC, we are not going to do that. Under ABC, we're going to assign the cost based on the activities, okay, rather than products or services. Why? ABC can track the flow of activities in organization by creating a link between the activity and the cost objects. Okay, in the upcoming slide, I will explain to you what is activity and what is a cost object. So this enables resources and overhead costs to be more accurately assigned to the products and services. Now here under traditional, we just used to take the overall. Now let's say product A cost A, B and C total, it would be 1 lakh based on the amount of production or units of production. If A was produced the most, then the total production cost, the major part would go to product A, according to product B, and then accordingly to product C. But here we are not going to follow that because we are assigning it more accurately based on the activities or based on the cost drivers in the business. Okay, so ABC assigns cost of activities based on their resources. Is that clear? So just try to understand what is the major difference of line under traditional and ABC. So let's understand what are the objectives of ABC accounting. Why do you really require ABC costing apart from traditional? Number one, to bring more accuracy in computation of cost and computation of products and services. As I told earlier, traditional, I'm blindly allocating the cost of overheads based on labor hours, based on machine hours, or the total production hours. But here under ABC, my cost allocation is going to be very much accurate. Why? Because I'm computing the product's cost or the services cost in a most accurate manner. Number two, ABC costing helps us in better decision making. So if we are going to wrongly allocate the cost, what happens is the price of the product. Okay, now how do you guys select selling price of a product? It is cost plus profit. Yes or no? Cost plus profit will give you what? Selling price. Correct? Selling price or sale price. Now here, if I'm wrongly allocating under traditional costing, it will also affect my decision making in deciding what would be the price or what would be the final price of the product or service. Whereas ABC will actually help me in better decision making about the products and services. Next, to identify various activities in the production process. As I told, it's not just labor hours or it's not just machine hours. I also need to understand how much percentage of labor was used, how many machine hours were used, did the machine break down in between, how many products require how many machine hours, right? In detail, I'm going to study the production process by identifying various activities. Okay, there can be activities like setup cost, installation cost, inspection cost, material requisition cost, etc. So here under ABC, I'm going to identify all those individual activities. Number 4, to distribute overheads on the basis of activities. As I told, I'm not going to blindly take the total cost and divide it based on the production. But here, what am I going to do? Distribute it based on the activities. If product A has consumed less activities, but production units are more. Let me repeat. If product A activities consumed are less, but the units produced are more than product B, Under traditional, what would I do? Just because A's production is more, automatically I will assign or allocate more cost to product A and less cost to product B, simply because product B is having lesser production. But no, under ABC, I am going to distribute this overhead cost based on the activities. If product A has consumed lesser activities, I am going to assign lesser cost to product A. If product B has taken up more number of activities, then I will allocate more cost to product B. Hope you're understanding. Number 5, to focus on high cost activities. Now definitely, now let's say in my company I have 3 products. Product A, B and C. Now product A, the total cost is, let's say cost is say 1 lakh rupees, okay, cost of production. Product B, let's say the cost of production is just 10,000 rupees, and product C is 80,000 rupees. I repeat, product A cost is 1 lakh, product B cost is rupees 10,000 and product C cost is 80,000. And the return or percentage of return that I'm going to earn on this products is, under A, let's say I have 10% return, on B, let's say I have 7% of return, and on C, let's say I have 15% of return. So what do you mean by focus on high cost activities? Means those product lines which have lot of activities involved in them, which is actually resulting in increase in cost of production. So under ABC, I'm going to categorize the products and try and focus on which are those products in my company which are actually consuming more number of activities. Is that clear? Number 6, to identify the opportunities for improvement and reduction cost. Now I'm sure when cost accounting we were studying, right? The very concept of cost accounting is to identify or is to reduce the amount of cost. Number 1, that's our main focus. The second focus in, try and identify where the cost is getting wasted. Okay, I'm putting my investment into particular activity, but that activity is actually not fetching me any income. So why waste my investment in that particular activity? So I'm going to identify certain activities or certain areas where my cost is not giving me any return or my investment is not giving me any income. Okay, so I'm going to try and control my cost. Okay, so same applies to even ABC. I'm going to identify those kind of opportunities where I can improve and also reduce costs. What do you mean by improving? That means I'm going to identify where it is not required and then remove the investment from that particular activity. How do you reduce cost? By improving the technology, right? By division of labor. Because if the same person, now let's say in your finance class, correct, in, let's say there are 100 students in your particular class, each student, I'm going to give you each particular task to perform, okay, in a company, I mean to say in a manufacturing unit. Now you are going to do it for a week and all of you are learning from the basic, and this is the first time you're doing certain activity. How would be the outcome of your activity, right? Definitely all of you are going to make lot of mistakes, because why? You're learning it for the first time. And of course, you can't deliver it within the time limit because you're not very accurate, or I would say not very fast in your process, because you're all still learning. Now, with the same activity, I'm going to identify who is good at which activity. I would say which worker is good at, cutting the wood, which worker is good at designing the software. So I'm going to identify what your strengths are or what you are good at, and then I give you the task, okay, based on your strength, and I give you, a time limit of, let's say, 6 months or 1 year. Definitely you can see after 1 year the amount of units you can produce, or simply the productivity of the worker, definitely will improve. Yes or no? Because the same work you are doing again and again for over 1 year, that is 12 months down the line, you will start becoming an expert in that particular activity. So, let's say in the first day or the first month of your work, you could produce only 5 units per month. But after 1 year of your training or 1 year of your experience into that work, you are able to produce, let's say, 50 units every month. What can I see there? I can see reduction of cost. If I make the labor, if I make division of labor based on their expertise or strength, it gives me an opportunity to reduce the cost and increase the productivity of my business. Is that clear to all of you? So these are the various objectives of why we need ABC costing. Now, what are the uses of ABC costing? Definitely optimum utilization of resources. As I told, I'm not just going to look onto the overall objective. Okay, how many hours, how many labor hours, how many machine hours? No, I'm going to look much detail into the production process, which helps me utilize every resource effectively. Price fixation, as I just told, ABC, what did we look at here? The second objective, helps in decision making. The very primary decision making every company can make is deciding upon the selling price. Yes or no? It can be for a service or it can be for a product. So ABC actually helps us in a better price fixation. Cost control, as I just explained to you in detail, how do I control the cost or how do I reduce the cost? Guides management, undoubtedly. ABC costing helps us to allocate the resources or allocate the cost and also guide the management. This particular product is fetching good returns, so we'll try and invest more into it. Or this particular product is not giving returns at all, so let's stop the production of that particular product. So I'm going to guide the management. Then measures the performance. Of course, I'm going to measure the performance of a laborer. It helps us to measure the performance of a product over the period of time, right? I can't be very judgmental about a laborer or a worker within 1 week of joining or within 1 month of joining, right? I need to analyze the performance and then measure or check if the laborer is improving or check if the productivity of certain department is improving. Determines accurate cost. As I told, compared to traditional costing, ABC costing always gives us an accurate cost. Now, what are the steps in implementing ABC? Number one, as I told, identify activities. Number two, identify the cost drivers. Number three, assign overhead cost to the activities identified. And number four, assigning the cost of activities to products or services based on the cost driver. Now, these steps I want you to remember because when we solve the problems, right, it would be very useful to you. Okay, so try and register these simple 4 steps. Elements in ABC costing. Now, here are the certain few words I want you to remember which should be useful for this concept. Number one, overhead cost. You already know there is production overhead, that is otherwise called as factory overhead, distribution overhead, selling overhead, administration overhead, etc. Next element is activity. I told you, right? Activity meaning that is function based. Now, under production or under factory, okay, we have the first thing, raw materials consumed. You remember the cost sheet? Right? I hope you remember. So there we see the number of material requisition we have applied, right? So every month once, I'm going to require 1000 kgs of wood, right? or 1000 kgs of cotton. So that is my material requisition. I am requiring raw material for production. There is setup cost. Now setup cost comes under what? Again, factory cost. That is because machine. Just because we have bought the machine, there is also something called as installation cost. You remember that? That is otherwise called as setup cost. Next, inspection cost. That means I am going to inspect my machine regularly. That means I'm going to make it because as the machine runs continuously, definitely the productivity of that machine is going to reduce. Yes or no? Because we are continuously using it, it might get burnt up, or it might get some short circuit, or the machine might slow down, etc. So now and then regularly you need to inspect the machine. So those are called as activities. Okay. Now cost pool. What is cost pool is because under each overhead I'm going to have numerous cost. Remember that under each overhead, under factory I'm going to have some 10 to 12 cost, under distribution another 5 to 7, like so. So what I'm going to do is I'll try and make sure I'm going to pool in. Pool in means what? Make it together. You remember this concept of Uber pooling? Yes. Instead of one person, driving from location A to location B, it's better maybe three people who have to reach the same destination can go in one particular car. That way you save petrol, cost, etc. Okay, somewhat same concept is what is applied here, cost as cost pool. Okay, where I'm actually trying to categorize all the activities that come under factory, all the activities coming under distribution, and pool it. So in short, maybe I'll call it as number of requisitions made or number of goods sold. Okay, I'm going to just total it up, because if I have to sit and calculate every single activity, it is time consuming. Okay, it takes a lot of effort. But if I'm going to try and put it together under one heading or under one overhead, it becomes easier for me to calculate. Next is cost driver. That is, we have two categories here, that is resource cost drivers and activity cost drivers, where under resource cost drivers we might see or calculate the amount of quantity consumed, how many tons of or how many kgs of rice did we consume, or how many kgs of wood did we consume. The quantity, I'm talking about the numericals. What is activity cost driver? Activity cost driver is the frequency of it, okay, or the intensity of it. Okay, I have taken 100 kgs of cotton. What was the frequency of this requisition in the last 6 months? Okay, how frequently did I purchase, or how frequently did I let the machine get inspected? Last, cost object. Cost object is simply my product. Okay, if your company tells you to find out the cost, the total cost of product A, so that becomes your cost object. Okay, my object is product A, product Z. Under that product I'm going to do all these kinds of activities. So please remember the elements. There's overhead cost, activity, cost pool, driver, and cost object. Now, since until now I've just told you theoretically, now let me just show you an example that will help you understand better. Okay. Now here, as you see on the screen, there is traditional costing. Okay. And you can see two types of goods, type A goods and type B goods. The production under type A, you have 90 units produced, let's say for a particular year. Under type B, I have produced 10 units. Next, come to the next category. Labor cost is a portion based on production. Remember the traditional costing meaning I gave you on the first slide? Labor cost is a portion here is based on what? Directly on the production. Now you can see the labor cost for type A is incurred how much? 90,000 rupees. For type B, how much is it incurred? 10,000 rupees. Now, the total labor cost is rupees how much? 1 lakh. I'm just trying and telling you orally what exactly is on your screen. Okay. If we can see for type B, A product, I am only requiring 25% of labor. Okay. But for type B, I am requiring 75% of labor to produce certain good. Okay. This is your question, or this is just an overview of the costing or the cost of a particular company. Let's see under traditional costing, how is cost allocated. So these are the calculations. Let's start from the left side. Let's find out what is the labor cost per head, or I would say for product A is how much and product B. That means labor cost 1 labor. That is a total labor cost divided by the units produced. And we know that, look at that, product A, how much cost is it incurred? 90,000 rupees. So 90,000 divided by how many units has A produced? 90 units. So 90,000 divided, so you're going to get how much? 90. Again, product B, again applies the same. Product cost divided by units produced is rupees 1 per head. Even though we can see that labor consumed is only 25% for A and 75% for B, what we can observe under traditional costing, it has equally apportioned based on the production. The cost has been allocated based on the production but not based on the activity. So what does traditional costing do here? It increases the product A cost and decreases the product B cost. Now what will this ultimately affect? This will affect the company while they're fixing the selling price of the product. Okay, while they're fixing the selling price of the product. Is that clear? So this is the basics of traditional costing. Let's just quickly look into the activity based costing. The question is absolutely the same. There are two products. It's actually production for both traditional and ABC. It's actually 90,000 and 10,000 units. Okay, I've just forgotten to write K over there. Then labor cost apportion based on the labor used, 25,000 and 75,000. Same, everything is the same. The question is absolutely same. But let's see under ABC costing, how is allocating the cost different. The formula remains the same. Okay, labor cost divided by units produced. So under product A, we have 25,000 divided by 90,000 units. That comes 0.27 per head. Now under traditional costing, how much was it? 1 rupee per head. For product B, 75,000 rupees divided by 10,000 units. That comes across how much? 7.5 rupees per head. Now why is the allocation different over here? Just see over here. Product A is taking how many labor? Just 25% of the total labor. Whereas for product B, I am consuming more labor hours. Okay, or more labor activities. So under ABC, what do? I actually allocate the cost based on the activities. What would that help? The cost for both the products are apportioned based on the activity. Now there it was based on production, here it is based on the activity. So this will help the company to set the product price precisely, or the selling price of the product precisely. Okay, so hope you've understood this example in differentiating between traditional and ABC. So here's a simple differences which I'm not going to elaborate much because I'm sure thus far I've given you, right? There's the meaning, that is allocation based on the volume of production. ABC, it is based on the activities. Now, traditional costing, where is it more suitable? It is more suitable when the companies have less products or it's just labor intensive. Okay. ABC costing is more applicable or suitable when there are too many product lines and it is more capital intensive. Number 3, as we know, decision making. Traditional costing affects the decision making. Okay, it does not give us, help us in having a better decision, but ABC costing helps us make the right decision. Traditional costing, as I told, it's very simple, correct? As we even looked at the example, it's very simple in calculation. So it's actually not very expensive at all. But for ABC costing, companies have to incur a lot of expense just to inculcate ABC costing. In terms of accuracy, that is, allocation of cost is not so accurate under traditional, but under ABC, it is much more accurate. Okay, so these are the basic differences which usually in the question they ask you for a 5 marker, explain the differences between traditional and ABC costing. So from the next class, we're going to start the problems on ABC